Good morning and welcome to the IperionX Limited Investor Webinar. My name is Jade Morgan and I'm the Investor and Media Relations Manager. Today I am joined by our Managing Director and CEO, Tasso Arima. To ask a question throughout today's webinar, please use the Q&A function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. Tasso, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Jane, and I really appreciate jumping on to give an update for everyone. It's been a few months since we had our last update, but I'm really excited about talking through what the second quarter entailed, which many of you have probably seen from our quarterly report put out last week, and talking through what we're trying to achieve over the next quarter and over the next 6-12 months as we scale our operations. So the second quarter was full of a lot of excitement for us at IperionX. Firstly, we really cemented our plans for our Virginia 100% recycled titanium metal powder facility, where we can then take those titanium metal powders and either make plates and bars and products like that, or use them in 3D printing applications. We announced that that facility, once fully scaled up, will be the largest titanium metal powder facility in the world. And we're very excited about that. And we announced that that facility, once fully operational and fully scaled up, will have the potential for over $100 million of EBITDA, and that's in the 2026 timeframe. That follows on from less than a year since us securing this site, where Governor Youngkin out of Virginia, with the support of the senators and the Congress people or the representatives from Virginia, had invited us, and we had secured that site with significant Virginia incentives to build that facility. Now, following from that facility, that is a 100%, we're using 100% recycled titanium scrap in that facility. Following from that, we secured recently a partnership with IperionX, which is the major stainless steel producer out of Europe, which is owned by the Mattel family, or majority owned by them, or significantly owned by the Mattel family. We recently announced a partnership with IperionX, where with their division ELG Utica Alloys. ELG Utica Alloys is based out of Connecticut, here in the United States, where I am right now. And they are one of the largest recycling or scrap cleaners in the world. They take in nickel, high nickel alloys, they take in stainless steels, but they're also one of the largest titanium metal scrap processes in the world. Now, they take in scrap from everywhere: aerospace, industrial applications. Some of that scrap is recycled in the titanium metal industry, but a significant amount of that scrap is actually downcycled into the steel industry. And we announced that we're working with them to really upcycle that titanium metal into titanium metal powder. And that is a very exciting partnership for us. We've secured more than what we need for the next few years at the Virginia facility, and we continue to work on additional opportunities with them and with others in the titanium market that we're going to be very excited to announce in the coming quarters. Following on from that, we also worked on our validation of our 100% recycled powders. There's one thing of people just saying we can make 100% recycled powders or titanium metal, and there's another thing to have it validated by an external party. We went through UL Solutions, which is one of the leaders in sustainable accreditations in the world today. They're used extensively by a lot of industries, including groups like within the consumer electronics industry, where there's a lot of focus on 100% recycled products today. And we went through an extensive audit process, and we were awarded our 100% validation for our 100% recycled content within our titanium metal. We are the only, not just titanium metal powder, but metal powder today in the world where we have that 100% accreditation, and we will continue to look towards working with them and continuing that accreditation going forward. That's a huge value add for our customers, especially those customers that are looking for the sustainability in the supply chain. In addition to that sustainability focus, we also completed our life cycle assessment, peer-reviewed life cycle assessment to ISO standards. That was completed by Earthshift Global, supported by our excellent internal team around sustainability, and we were able to showcase that our titanium metal powders will have approximately 7.8 kilograms of CO2 equivalent emissions per kilogram of titanium metal production. To put that in context, today the titanium metal supply chain can be upwards of 200 kilograms of CO2 per kilogram of titanium metal for metal powders, and well over 50 kilograms of CO2 per titanium metal per titanium metal ingots as well out there. So a huge reduction in the existing supply chain for titanium metal powders, but when compared to other metals like aluminum, it's far lower. And when compared to stainless steel, it's equivalent. And we believe over time, we can bring that even further down. We have 0 Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. All our emissions were contained in the Scope 3 category. And as we continue to scale our business, we believe that we can substantially cut those emissions even further, being a very low carbon product. That's another huge value add for our customers. So not only can we produce low cost titanium metal powders from our Virginia facility, they will be validated as having 100% recycled content, and also validated as having some of the lowest carbon intensity for a metal product out there. So very important for us moving forward. So we're very excited about that. That's been some great developments around our scale up and our Virginia facility. And over the coming quarters, we will do additional or come out with additional updates on the progress of our Virginia facility. Recently, we just received the permits for that, and that's within less than a year of actually securing that site. So that's an excellent milestone as well, which happened post the completion of the second quarter. Moving from there, we're very excited about the markets. During the second quarter, we came out with initially a green hydrogen market report. This was on the back of interaction between us and the hydrogen industry, particularly the PEM, the membrane side of the hydrogen industry, both hydrogen generation and fuel cells. This is groups out there that are using and producing hydrogen today. Hydrogen is critical to the PEM electrolyzer stack, and we came out with after an extensive market review and research that we did in-house, we came out with quite an extensive presentation on the opportunity for titanium metal in the hydrogen economy. And to put it in perspective, we see potential across electrolyzers producing hydrogen, but also fuel cells used in things like transportation, buses, marine transportation, that being enormous. By 2040, it could eclipse the complete or the entire production of titanium metal today globally. That includes what's coming out of China and Russia. So that is a huge market opportunity where we're working within industry, and we have been close with some of the major participants in the industry, and we're really excited about the potential there as well. Now, in addition, so that's green hydrogen, and we hope to make some major announcements around our progress in that industry again over the coming quarters. But in addition to that, we've been working on a lot of other customers. We have got over 70 partnerships that we're really working on, where we're actively engaged with groups that want to use our titanium metal. And there's a few where we're prototyping and working together on potential applications. We've already announced our collaboration with the Richemont Group and their subsidiary Panerai, or the Maison as they call it. They released the first titanium metal watch just this quarter. It was a Panerai Cross Bravus. Very cool looking watch, and that is just the start of a lot of other opportunities in the luxury goods sector. But also, if it's good enough for a luxury watch, it's good enough for a titanium smartphone, it's good enough for a titanium smartwatch. In addition to that, we announced our collaboration. We also have Canyon Bikes, which we continue to work with. But this quarter, or the last quarter, second quarter, we announced our collaboration in the automotive industry with Ford Motor Company. And that's really exciting to us because Ford Motor Company has used titanium metal in some of their iconic products in the past. And we're very excited to be working with them to introduce titanium metal components into the Ford Performance brand. And then for that to cascade down into other vehicles, including electric vehicles over time. There's some very cool components and parts that we hope to have, or we're targeting and aiming to have with Ford Motor Company in the coming years in vehicles. And this could be, as you can imagine, a very large market for titanium metal. So we're really excited about that development. And I think generally we've had very good feedback around that part of the business. From a corporate perspective, we ended the quarter with a very healthy cash balance of $12 million in the bank, and we feel very comfortable with the potential developments and our operations going forward. So over the coming quarter and few quarters, looking towards the end of the year and into next year, we continue to focus, like I said, on the Virginia facility and that scale up. We announced the permits on the Virginia facility. We'll be making some updates there as to our scale up plans. We continue to manufacture high quality titanium metal powder and make that powder into different components and parts, both for our announced customers and some of the customers that we're working on today, and hopefully we will announce soon. And that continues to operate safely and efficiently. And I continue to be very proud about how our team has been operating out there in Salt Lake City. And all of us here at IperionX, we're very excited about the customers that we're working on. There's some really iconic products that we hope to eventually use our titanium metal, not just because it will be cheaper, but because it will be more sustainable. It's good for the world. And we hope to make some big strides over this quarter with some of those industries. To note, we've seen in the consumer electronics space, I think it was today or yesterday, Xiaomi, and only a few days ago, the Samsung Galaxy iPhones are rumored or have announced that they will have titanium metal frames, and that is a very exciting mark for us moving forward. Titanium metal is strong, lightweight, corrosion resistant. As you want to have thinner, lighter, cooler consumer electronics, titanium metal is the obvious choice. And our numbers as to the scale of that market is enormous. And we'll update the market with updates that we have from that side over this quarter and next quarter. In addition, we continue to be heavily involved with the US government and potential federal funding options there. Titanium metal is extensively used in military applications. We note that the NDAA, both from the House and Senate, has allocated or has included language in the National Defense Authorization Act to the tune of talking about more focus on sustainable recycled titanium metal supply chain in North America, which fits very well with us. We also note that there's a recent RFI or request for information out on some extensive work to be done on the titanium's integrated and recycled titanium supply chain, which again fits very well with our business case as well. We're very excited about some of the opportunities that are available within the Defense Production Act, the Title III program today, and within both the defense and the energy budgets, or the Department of Energy budgets, moving forward over into next year. And we're very optimistic about our ability to work closely with the US government and with all branches of the military. And that will be an important part of our business as we're a US company looking to progress this US integrated and low-cost sustainable supply chain for titanium metal. So I'm very excited. I'm very proud of the team and the second quarter. We are feeling here very excited and very in a good space to continue to scale our business. And we're looking forward to some excellent progress to be made around building this integrated titanium metal facility. And I look forward to keeping everybody up to speed. We haven't talked about the Titan project much, but we can. We're also looking towards some major announcements there in this coming quarter. But I guess I'll hand it back to you, Jane, for any questions that come from the audience.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Tasso. And please use the Q&A function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen if you do have questions for Tasso. But let me jump into them now. So can you provide some background on the register, the major shareholders, and perhaps even the board and management holdings?
So for us, we completed a $20 million placement during the second quarter, which I should have probably noted it. That was heavily supported by existing shareholders, both Fidelity Management and Research out of here and Fidelity International out of Asia. And so between the two Fidelities, they own 10% each, so about 20% of the company. And then board and management has a significant stake as well. Board and management did participate within that financing as well. So we feel that we have got not just a strong balance sheet, but very strong support from what is a very strong institutional register for our company.
Wonderful. And this is in relation to the announcement from the other day. So when will the construction fit out works commence for the titanium demonstration facility in Virginia?
So in the coming months, there was an allocation of over $4 million, or approximately $4 million from the Virginia government for the fit out of the facility. That the first stage of our facility is approximately a $20 million build. So that $4 million is a big chunk of that. And that will commence in the coming months.
Wonderful. And again, just on the last announcement. So we mentioned that that we have secured all the material permits required to build and operate the demonstration facility. So are there further approvals or permits that are needed?
No major approvals or permits. We have got everything we need, not just to start construction, but then to start operations as well. And we have, the permits today that we have in hand also support our scale-up plans as well.
Wonderful. And so in the most simple terms, what is the key difference between our technology and the existing titanium processing methods used by industry?
So primarily our technology, we've got a few technologies, but the primary refining technology of ours is the ability to deoxygenate titanium metal. Titanium metal in its natural state is titanium dioxide, essentially. So it's an oxide. And so deoxygenating it has been the challenge historically, and that has led to a very complex supply chain that does not allow for low carbon intensity, and it does not allow for 100% recyclability or 100% circularity. Because even when you look at titanium scrap, the most difficult or challenging deleterious element there is oxygen. Again, it picks up oxygen in scrap form as well. It wants to naturally go back to its oxide state. And so between scrap and mineral, the deoxygenation of titanium metal has been the challenge, has led to this very complex supply chain. Our technology, we deoxygenate titanium metal every day of the week. It's actually the simplest part of all our process because there's ancillary processes on both sides of that deoxygenation. The simplest part is actually the deoxygenation. That is our key differentiating factor.
Thank you, Tasso. Jumping around a little bit here, sorry. So can you provide further details on government funding and incentive packages?
So absolutely, there's a lot there within the US government today from a federal level that's allocated both towards sustainable critical material supply chains and towards national security or defense-related supply chains. The major one that we're very excited about is around Defense Production Act Title III program, which came out of last year's Ukraine Supplemental Act to support or reshore supply chains which were affected by the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And that one of those major supply chains which was affected was titanium metal, both because Ukraine is a supplier of titanium minerals and was a supplier of titanium metal sponge, and Russia is a major contributor of titanium metal sponge. And now, that is not, that a lot of sanctions have stopped or eliminated that part of the supply chain. So we're very excited about those Defense Production Act Title III programs. There's programs around other parts of the defense industry. As people will note, in the first quarter, we won the US Air Force Research Labs Grand Challenge for recycling of titanium metal. And we're working with US Air Force Research Labs as we speak around that side of the business. There's a big focus on additive manufacturing and reshoring the supply chains which use titanium metal in the Navy as well. And there's some other Australian companies which have been supplying into the industry as well. And like we like to say, we are the ink of the additive manufacturing industry. Without the titanium metal, you can't really do anything. You can have a machine, but without the metal, you can't really do anything. So there's extensive opportunities within the Department of Defense funding. And then across the Department of Energy, we continue to see strong opportunities for funding going forward. We were at Department of Energy funded technology, or the technology was funded by the IperionX program. And there continues to be Department of Energy funding available for the type of development that we're looking to do, sustainable critical material development. So extensive opportunities. I think we've laid it out in some of our other announcements, but I'm happy to send out any further detail to anybody that has any questions.
Thank you, Tasso. So next one, can you provide any insights into major new developments in titanium demand?
So as I said, automotive industry is for us is a big industry, but where I see there being two areas where it could really and is going to shake up the market, in our opinion. First being green hydrogen. It's probably a bit further out, but as green hydrogen grows, that has the potential to eclipse the entire titanium metal industry today. So that's significant. That will put enormous pressure on the titanium metal industry. And as that grows, we're perfectly placed to be an ex-China part of that supply chain. China and Russia today control over 70% of the titanium metal supply chain. But where we see immediate significant growth coming, that I think people will really drive what is already a market that is short on titanium, is consumer electronics. Like I talked about Xiaomi and Samsung. There's a lot of word around there of titanium being used in the frames, and this makes a lot of sense just because of the properties of titanium. So as phones go thinner, as phones go lighter, they need to also be stronger. You can't have a thinner phone. You've got to have that frame to be even stronger to make sure that the consumer electronics don't break. When you put it in your pocket, it doesn't bend. It's just not going to bend with titanium metal. So that's a huge market. The modeling that we've done in that market is enormous. I actually don't know how it would scale that quickly. Depends on what the uptake is of those rumored phones as they come out, and smartwatches and areas like that, let alone when you think about laptops or anything else like that within the industry. Titanium metal, because with our process, it can be 100% recycled or infinitely recyclable. It's low carbon. It's an excellent choice for those applications, and we see immense opportunities in the consumer electronics sector.
Thank you, Tasso. Jumping around again. So can you explain the shelf filing in the United States and how that mechanism will work?
So the F3, which is the shelf registration document that we put out there, that just means or allows us to access the equity capital markets in the US in a timely manner when we see fit. This is quite commonplace in the United States. My previous company, Piedmont Lithium, had a very large shelf filing in place when I left. I think it was around 250 million as well, maybe even more, maybe $500 million. The number is just a number. It just means without going through a full SEC review process, that you have the ability to tap the equity capital markets. It makes it more similar to the way we're able to raise capital in the Australian markets. In the Australian market, you go out, you raise capital on the back of a private placement. That is not the case in the equity capital markets in the United States if you don't have a registration, a shelf registration. So the shelf registration, people should just think as mirroring the ability to raise capital like you can in Australia. So it allows us to access those capital markets when we see fit.
Wonderful. Okay, so when do you anticipate making a final investment decision for the demonstration facility, and how many people will be employed there?
So there's approximately 40 people in initial operations, over 100 people once it's fully scaled, and still those numbers will change as we look at changing the production profile there, as we look at additional scale-up opportunities in that area, and we're really excited about that. Final investment decision, though, for that initial stage one of operation will most likely come in the fourth quarter of this year. We have secured our long lead time items already, so we're not really missing any opportunities, but we continue to just work on finalizing some of the engineering design and refining some of the numbers. I'm really excited about refining those numbers because we've found, as we continue to produce titanium metal powder and as we continue to actually test, we've been testing the major equipment or the main furnace, which undertakes our deoxidation process in the Netherlands. As we continue to do our trial runs there in the Netherlands, we see opportunities for increased production at the Virginia facility.
Thank you. And so when do you expect to contract and generate significant revenues? And just further to what you were saying earlier, how big do you think the titanium market could be?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for us contracting, we will have some contracted revenues next year. Next year, though, with the 125 metric tons as we scale that, we expect to have some contracted and some more spot style type sales. But where we're focusing on contracts is somewhat next year, but really into 2025 and 2026 as we head towards that 1,000 plus metric tons per annum. There's some customers there where over the course of this year, we will be looking towards contracting, and then some towards the first half of next year and into next year. I think with the amount of work that we're doing across different industries and across different customers, we'll end up having, well, internally with the discussion that we're having, we have far more demand than what we could probably supply in the near term. But moving those into contracts is one of the key focus that we have over the next 6 months. So really excited about that. I'm sorry, what was the next part of the question? I didn't. The contracting
And just how big the titanium market could be.
So the titanium market is about $4 to $5 billion, the primary metal market today. Multiples of that when you look at titanium metal products. We see opportunities within just within consumer electronics, green hydrogen, automotive, which are multiples of that in and of itself. So very large TAM, where we're the only player which has a fully integrated viewpoint, where we're the only player that has the validated ISO compliant, UA compliant, 100% recycled low carbon powders, and that we're actually securing customers today. So we've got product out there today and coming in the coming quarters with some of our customers that is produced from our 100% recycled scrap using our process. So we're in a extremely strong position to dominate the market over the coming years and be the supplier of sustainable but also low cost titanium products to the world.
Thank you, Tasso. This one's come through a few times, and it's just in regards to the competitive landscape. So perhaps you just want to have a little bit of a comment on if there are any material competitors.
So the titanium metal supply chain is a bit fragmented. The largest direct competitors are the ones that do the entire supply chain, and that will be things like VSMPO out of Russia, they don't have the mineral side of the business, but they have sponge ingot manufacturing through titanium metal products. And then you've got a few of the Chinese companies that are up and coming. Lamont Binions is building out titanium metal sponge. So really the ones that compete against us or will be the major peers from a titanium metal landscape, and they're supplying into some of the industries like consumer electronics today, is coming out of China and Russia. And obviously we have a huge competitive advantage there from the provenance, being a Western world supplier, being a low carbon supplier, and being 100% recycled supplier over and above them. And with our technology and with our process technology, we believe also being a lower cost supplier than what they are doing today. Here, when we look at the titanium industry here in the United States, it's more fragmented. You import sponge, you mix that sponge with scrap here in the United States, and you produce titanium mill products. And then those mill products are going into the aerospace industry. We're working with companies within aerospace. We have 2 of our directors on the board are from aerospace, both Boeing and Lockheed pedigrees. We see that as a good market in the future for us, but we're not really competing into that market today. So I wouldn't see a lot of competition in the existing US supply chain from the groups like ATI, Tymet, Helmet Aerospace. There's some other titanium metal powder producers, which again are focused on aerospace, so less of a competitive tension with them. We wish them all the best as well. But naturally in the future, we will be competitors most likely. But right now we're really looking at being the only Western world supplier into some of these newer industries, which are really like the green hydrogen industry, like the consumer electronics industry, like the sporting goods industry. That's very heavily dominated by supply that's coming out of Asia, coming out of China.
Thanks, Tessa. Again, this one's come through a few times. So just to provide an update on the Titan project.
Yeah, so the Titan project, we've really, over the last year been focused very much on completing our feasibility level metallurgical test work, which will allow us to move into further engineering studies. And looking at some opportunities around the upgrading of our ilmenite into what we called it a synthetic rutile, really a green rutile, because it's a zero carbon rutile process that also has potential to make some other, really interesting byproducts. So we've been focused on really looking at that, running our test work on that within our research and development facilities, and going to have some exciting announcements or some exciting updates around that in the coming quarters. And then really focused on the permitting. Almost every critical mineral project in the United States today is held up in permitting. We feel that Tennessee is an exciting place to be in from a permitting perspective. And so we've been very focused on the permitting of the Titan project, and we hope to have some major updates there for investors in soon. Once you have permitting complete, I believe that the United States there's no better place to have this type have a business like what we're trying to build, an integrated titanium metal supply chain, but even just have a minerals business. It's an excellent fiscal regime to be working in. It's a tier one market. It's a market which is deficient or importing most of these types of minerals. So you're right in the center of your market. You've got an excellent taxation regime, and you've got some excellent additional tax depreciation and depletion allowances, which would probably put it, if there's no government participation like there is in some other jurisdictions of the world. When you line it all up, you have got very favorable fiscal regime to be operating in. So once you pass through that permit stage, I think investors can then stop focusing on permits, because I believe some investors are probably focused on the US permits because historically they've been harder to achieve. Once that box is ticked, I think investors should focus on not just the project. Of course, the project is amazing. We'll be making some updates there, but they then should be looking at that fiscal regime being just superior to any other regime globally to be building a project like this in. And then on the backdrop of all that government funding that's available, not just for our metals business, but also for our minerals business, that just supercharges any development that we have. So we are actually very excited about our Titan project. We've had some major customers to site, international customers to site as well, who are looking across the minerals that we will produce from there. So it's an excellent business, and I think we'll, over this quarter, next quarter, we'll be talking a lot more about it. But it is in and of itself, it's a fantastic business. It's just that from the titanium metal side, we're also making some, got some major announcements to come there. When we wrap it all up, though, we are looking to achieve our vision of building that integrated supply chain. We're starting with that very capital efficient titanium metal recycling business first, which we can scale very quickly. But having the Titan project there allows us then to build that full backward integration. And especially when we talk to the government, which is looking for a integrated supplier to bring essentially that titanium metal supply chain home, that gives us a huge competitive advantage. I think we're the only group in America doing that. So that's a huge competitive advantage for us as well, to have the Titan project there and have it progress to the point of permits and getting close to moving into that construction or production timeframe for the next 3-4 years, or 2-3 years.
Wonderful. And I think just finally, this has been a great update. But I think, what should shareholders be looking forward to over the next sort of 3 to 6 months from a news flow perspective?
So like we talked about, we're very focused on customers, where we continue to secure customers across our titanium metal business. We're very focused on the scale up of our titanium metal Virginia facility and titanium metal powder facility in Virginia. Very much focused around the progress of our Titan project, getting some updates there around permitting and updates there around the development of the Titan project and how big it can be. I think there's a lot of market moving announcements that we can have there, and then overlaying all of that is this excellent timeframe to be in here in the United States, where there's a big focus by the US government in funding developments like ours. So we're very excited about what could come from some US government funding opportunities as well. So you've got customers, which could be really big, and funding opportunities from customers themselves, together with funding opportunities and grants and programs like that from the US government, together with just permits, building our business and achieving our vision of being an integrated, sustainable titanium metal supplier to the world from here in the United States.
Wonderful. Well, that's all we've got time for today. And I think we've answered most of the questions. But if we have missed anything, please feel free to reach out via the contact details, which can be found at the bottom of our ASX releases. But Tasso, thanks again for your time. And thank you everyone for joining us.